but our problems seem to be coming from our mothers. Obi, surprised, asked, "Our mothers? How?" In an African village there was a lady named Ona. She was a devoted stay-at-home mom, and her husband Kofi was a skilled hunter who sold meat at the local market. They had a little boy named Obi, and it was his 3rd birthday. On this special day, Kofi really wanted to make it memorable for Obi. He turned to Ona and said, "Sweetheart, today is our son's special day. Let me go into the forest for the best game, a feast fit for our little prince." Ona, looking at the clouds gathering outside, felt worried. Even though the weather wasn't great, Kofi insisted on bringing the best meat for the celebration. Ona, feeling a mix of hope and worry, agreed to Kofi's plan. "Please, Kofi," she implored, her voice filled with a mother's love. "Be careful out there." Little did they know, the choices they made that day were about to change their lives forever. When Kofi got to the forest, heavy rain started pouring, so he decided to head back home. His house was far away, but staying in the forest wasn't an option. Despite the mud making the ground slippery, he ran back home. Unfortunately, he slipped and hit his head on a stone, losing his life. Another hunter passing by saw Kofi and recognized him but couldn't carry him. Meanwhile, Ona at home was anxiously worried about her husband, especially with the heavy rain. When the rain finally stopped, the hunter who had seen Kofi came to deliver the heartbreaking news of his passing to Ona. The whole village found out about Kofi's passing, and soon his family came. Some of them pointed fingers at Ona, saying she made Kofi go out on that bad day, just to make her and their son happy. He accused her, saying, "You caused our brother and son's death. We don't want anything to do with you." Heartbroken, Ona found herself dealing with the tough task of raising her son on her own. Without any work experience, she didn't know how to earn money. To take care of her 3-year-old boy, she decided to sell vegetables at the market. However, it wasn't easy. Balancing her son's needs and work became a big challenge for Ona. Despite the difficulties, she kept going, determined to handle the unexpected twists life had thrown at her. One of Ona's neighbors was a young married woman named Nandi, who had not become a mom yet. Nandi saw how Ona struggled taking her little boy to the market. Feeling sorry for her, Nandi told Ona, "My sister, you can leave Obi here by my house every day. I'll take care of him while you go to the market to sell." Ona felt so relieved. Now she could work at the market without worrying about her son. Ona worked really hard to support her son, but despite her efforts, she remained in a tough financial situation. Ona loved her son dearly and was grateful for Nandi's help. Ona and Nandi became close like sisters. After 2 years, Nandi had a baby boy, and a year later, she welcomed a baby girl named Ruth. As Obi grew up, every time he went to the market where his mother sold vegetables, he told her, "Mom, there's no woman on earth who can take your place in my heart. For you, I will do anything, and I promise to take you out of this situation one day." Ona replied, "My son, everything I'm doing is for the love I have for you." Between Ona and Obi, it was a genuine mother and son love story, the kind that stays strong no matter what. One day, Obi went to the market where his mother sells, looking rich, and said, "Mama, let's go." Ona looked at her son and asked, "My son, is this you? Where are you taking me?" Then, Obi took his mother to his house. Ona asked Obi, "Whose house is this? Please, let's leave." Then Obi answered, "Mom, I got a job, and this is our new life. Forget about those vegetables and that market." Ona was so excited and happy. She couldn't believe that her life had just changed after all those years of suffering. One day, Obi decided to leave his job and focus on his own business. And luck was on his side. He succeeded and became a very successful businessman. One night, Obi sat in his bedroom, reflecting, and said to himself, "I have now accomplished everything I wanted. I have money, a beautiful house, and my mother is in very good condition. I think it's time for me to start my own family. I need to get married." At that time, Obi had a friend named Rose whom he appreciated, so he decided to try and ask Rose out. To his delight, Rose accepted. Rose was very polite and beautiful, so Obi decided he would go and introduce her to Ona. One day, as Rose was cleaning at Obi's house, Ona came to visit her son and found Rose. She greeted her kindly, thinking she was just a maid, and asked, "My daughter, where is your boss?" Rose, surprised, said, "Ma, Obi is upstairs. Let me call him for you." Before Rose could go, Obi came out calling Rose honey. Ona understood and immediately changed her mood. Obi greeted his mother warmly, but Ona was upset. She said, "I'm leaving." Then Obi explained, "Ma, I wanted to come and introduce her to you next week." The next day, Obi went to visit his mother, thinking that she was upset because he didn't inform her about Rose. Obi said to his mom, "I know you're upset because you found her in the house. I was supposed to introduce her to you first. I love her, Mom, and I want to marry her." Ona immediately said, "No, my son, that's not happening." Obi was surprised because Rose is well-mannered and very beautiful. He said, "Mom, nobody can take your place in my heart," thinking that was why his mother didn't want Rose. In fact, Ona promised Nandi that her son would marry her daughter Ruth, as a symbol of gratitude for everything Nandi did for Obi when he lost his father. Ona didn't want to go back on her word, so she made Rose's life very difficult and told her son that he had to choose between her and Rose. Ona insisted that Obi must marry Ruth and explained why it should happen. The pressure became overwhelming, and Obi, feeling the weight of his mother's expectations, decided to let Rose go. Before parting ways, he suggested to his mother the idea of marrying both Ruth and Rose, but she refused, saying it wouldn't be fair for Nandi's daughter to have a rival, although it was difficult for Obi and Rose to say goodbye. As they truly loved each other, Obi prioritized his mother's affection. So, Obi went ahead and married Ruth. Both Ona and Nandi were overjoyed, anticipating a family that would last for generations. However, despite the happiness around him, Obi wasn't content. He had made this choice mainly for his mother's sake. After 2 years, there was still no sign of a baby in Obi's house, and it raised concerns among the parents. Ona, feeling uneasy, decided to visit Obi's house one day to have a talk with her daughter-in-law. Unfortunately, the reception was not warm. Ruth was very rude, prompting Ona to leave. One day, Ruth turned to her husband and said, "Honey, I've been trying to find solutions for our situation. I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but our problems seem to be coming from our mothers." Obi, surprised, asked, "Our mothers? How?" Ruth elaborated, "They are the ones blocking us from having children. That's why where I sought help they told me we could have children, but we need to stay away from those women." Obi became furious. The next day, he took his wife, and they confronted Ona, hurling insults and accusing her of being a witch. They also visited Ruth's mom, labeling her as well. 3 years later, Obi and his wife still had no children, and they never contacted their mothers. Ruth enjoyed Obi's money. During that time, Obi became very worried and decided it was time for him to seek advice on his own. So, he went to consult, and what he heard during the consultation almost killed him. Obi returned home very upset, but he crafted a plan. He visited his mother, Ruth's mother, and father, asking for forgiveness. They initially refused, but he persisted, going to them several times. Finally, Ruth's father listened to him, and Obi explained everything, saying, "Please ask Auntie Nandi and my mother to forgive me. It's my wife who made me do everything I did." The process of forgiveness took place, and they granted him their forgiveness. Ruth was enjoying the lavish life she had, so Obi suggested, "Honey, I want us to go visit your father. Remember, you said it was our mothers, which means we are punishing Dad for nothing." Ruth replied, "No, I'm not going to see that woman's face," refusing with all her heart. Despite her strong resistance, Obi managed to convince her to go, assuring her that her mom wouldn't be there. When they arrived at Ruth's family, only her father and brother were present. As they sat and started talking, her brother went inside the house to call both her mother and Obi's mother. Spotting them, Ruth sensed that something was amiss. She suggested, "Let me leave." Obi insisted, saying, "No, sweetheart, you're not going anywhere. You must explain to us how these women turned into witches and how you went through abortions, leading to infertility. Please, madam, the floor is yours." Ruth couldn't believe her ears. She then said, "I will talk," and began, "I remember that day as if it was yesterday. On that day, Auntie Ona visited, and my mother, as usual, brought some drinks and food for her. They began to talk. Ona said, 'My sister, I wanted to strengthen our bonds by letting Obi marry Ruth. I like Ruth. She's very beautiful.' Nandi responded, 'No, my sister. Let our son find someone else. I know Obi is very rich now, and I appreciate your desire for the best, but not Ruth.' Ona implored, 'My sister, this is my way of expressing gratitude for your support when my husband passed away. Please don't reject it outright, or take your time to think about it.' After Ona left, Nandi mumbled to herself, 'Obi is like a son to me. I raised him. I cannot let him marry the wrong person. I tried everything to guide Ruth on the right path, but it all went in vain. She's stubborn, and those abortions she had nearly cost me my marriage. No, I won't let her step into Obi's house. No way.' So, I overheard everything my mom said that day, and I hated her. But since Auntie Ona insisted and wanted me to be her daughter-in-law, that's how I got married. Please forgive me," Ruth cried. "I never consulted anybody. I knew I was not fertile, so I had to keep my mother away from me because I was scared that she'd ruin my marriage and the chance I had to marry such a rich man. Auntie Ona, forgive me. I made you suffer because I knew how much my husband loves and listens to you, and I understood that with you around him, my days in the house were going to be numbered." Ona seized her son, her eyes filled with disappointment, and confronted Nandi. "Nandi, the woman I thought of as a sister, why the silence about Ruth's countless abortions? What have you done to our son, your very own son, the one you watched grow? He had a future with his fiancée, yet I battled to have him marry your daughter. The remorse within me is too immense for words. Take your daughter and consider this marriage finished.